It's pairing up. And there we go. All right, folks. Hey, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal. I got Asheebo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record, and our special guest joining us today is Coach Matt Brown from the Northwood Chargers basketball team, the head coach over there. We're going to talk, of course, about high school basketball tonight. We've got a couple of big games in the county: Northwood versus Chatham Central, Seaforth versus Jordan Matthews, and of course, we'll also talk about which charter and Chatham charter. We'll talk about the power rankings. Coach Brown may not care about them, but I know you folks are interested in what's going on there. And then again, we'll get into the stories Asheebo's got coming up in the Chatham News and Record. One of everybody's favorite, Asheebo's athlete of the week, and then we'll talk about wrestling, swimming, and indoor track. And let's get ready to rock and roll here. Let me take this graphic off. And as you can see, Asheebo's up top. I'm down here, and Coach Brown is that away. All right. We're going to let Asheebo run off with this because he's the smart guy. He's the news reporter. I just take pictures. So, Asheebo, why don't you go at it, introduce folks to Coach Brown, and ask away. And Coach Brown, we really appreciate you joining us this morning or this afternoon.
Thank you all.
Yeah, Coach Brown, thanks for joining us once again. Anyone watching this doesn't know, head coach of the Northwood boys basketball team. Really great program over the years under Coach Brown. This year, just continuing that excellence that they've sustained over the past couple of years. And that just kind of leads me into that first question. From last year, you guys had a great senior class with Fred Whitaker, Drake Powell, of course, Jake Layton, Thomas Hobbs, all those other guys. What's kind of the biggest reason for the sustained success after, that senior class left and then coming in this year with Cam Fowler, Chad Graves taking over as leaders on this team?
Well, I mean, I think it all starts with guys and buying into just the process. I mean, a lot of those guys that are starting now, Isaiah, Hayes, those guys, even Chad didn't get a lot of minutes last couple of years. They've waited their turn and they accepted the process and they accepted their roles. And every year they have gotten better. And so now when they do step into that role of becoming a starter, a guy who we need to count on, they're up for the task. I mean, Isaiah is one of our best on-ball defenders. And the last 3 years, he's had to guard Drake every single day in practice. And I told him, last year, I said, I know you're not getting a lot of minutes, but like next year, you're going to be a starter, you're going to be stepping up, and you're only going to be better because of that. And then, all comes down to the senior leadership every single year. They pass down what they've learned. They just kind of built that culture, and that culture it started with Aaron and Deuce and, Jalen's squad, 6 years ago. And they just kind of started it and we kind of built on it. And of course I have incredible assistant coaches. Ethan Polis has been with me for, 5 or 6 years now. He's one of the best coaches in the state. And then Demetrius Brown came in this year and he's added so much to the program. So, I mean, it's been really good. It's been hard. Just to sustain it. It was a little bit easier to get to that point, and it's a little bit harder to sustain it. But I feel like these guys have really bought into what we're trying to do, and they want to keep adding on to the legacy.
Yeah, and you mentioned Isaiah, who's also been playing with Bo, Cam, Chad. Those players have all been together over the years, and then, like you said, your assistants that have been with you for just as long. I mean, how important is it to you to have that kind of consistency with players and also the experience they have playing together? How much has that kind of helped you guys this year?
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, continuity is key. They like those starting five, they've been playing AAU ball for years now together on the same team. So the continuity is huge. And the continuity of the assistant coaches and the coaching staff is big too, because they kind of know what's expected, how much we work. I mean, we work really, really hard to try to be the best that we can be every year. So they know what kind of work and what is going to take to get to that point, and the boys do too. So we start them young, right when they get here at Northwood. The JV guys are doing it right now. They're in the gym, they're morning shots, weightlifting, everything. So I mean they know what's expected of them. So when they do get to the varsity level, they can just fit right in.
Yeah, and I also want to ask you about Cam, and we're going to talk more about Cam later on in the stream. But he goes from 11 points per game last year to 20 points per game this year. You guys leading scorer. I mean, what's it been like watching his growth from not even just last year, but also as a freshman up to now? And then what's kind of the biggest thing he's improved on from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think Cam, from his freshman year to now, you could tell that he was going to be really special. And he's put in a lot of work. Even when he wasn't playing a lot during his freshman year, he has put in a lot of work. He studied the game, and he's earned what he's getting right now. His outside shot is incredible. His shooting percentage is off the charts right now from three. His ball handling and decision making is getting a lot better. So I just think that he's coming around to becoming a very, very good player, and to know that he's only a junior and averaging this many points is pretty remarkable. I tell him all the time that I still think he should be averaging a double-double. Like, he should be rebounding a lot more. So I think that's kind of in the back of my mind. So I think you'll kind of see that come up in the next, few weeks, that he's going to really up his rebounding and get to that level.
Yeah, and when I talk to you guys after the game, I mean, a lot of that messaging that they kind of talk about is they always feel like there's room to get better. There's always room to improve, and then also too, you guys also really just focus on yourselves. I mean, what's kind of like the main message you kind of want to give to your team in these seasons like this, where you guys have success, especially through conference play, and then you kind of have to keep them up to that level once the playoffs come around?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's difficult, but we find ways to motivate, and we find ways to make ourselves better. We film every practice, and we watch film before every practice, and we grade film. So there's always something that we're not doing right, or something that we can do a little bit better, and we show them that every single day. And we show them their grades every single day. So if they're not boxing out or offensive rebounding, they'll know that practice last night wasn't their best practice. So we try to do the things that will get them better every day, and not to be okay just being good. We want to be the best that we can be, to our fullest potential. That's winning 10 games, that's winning 10 games. If that's winning 25 games, that's winning 25. We just focus on what can we do to get better and to become the best versions of ourselves. And I feel like all of our teams have done that for 8 years now.
Yeah, and I kind of want to ask you, about those early games this season before you guys really got into the depth of conference play. I mean, 6-2 in those non-conference games. You guys saw some close games in that stretch, and played some really good teams. I mean, what did you learn about your team just early on from that competition that you guys went through?
It was great. We learned what we could do and what we can't do real quick. That's why we play those games early on, to see what works and what doesn't. So we had to toss some things that we thought we were going to do going into the season that was kind of successful in the summer. So we had to toss that and, not reinvent the wheel, but just kind of tweak some of the things that we could do and do a lot better. But also we got to see being on the road, especially in Washington, made a 3-hour bus trip, ruckus crowd, then had to make the 3-hour bus trip back, close game. that was a playoff game. So if we go on the road in the playoffs, we kind of know what to expect, and we kind of know that the drive that we have to make, getting off the bus, warming up, and playing a tough game. So we know what to expect. We've been there. We've done it. I think that was important, win or lose. I think we had chances to win that game. We definitely didn't play our best. And we've been fixing the things that we didn't do well for that game. And then obviously Green Level, I mean, they're an incredible basketball team, and playing them first game out of the year really kind of set the tone on the competition that we want to be at and the level that we want to be at. So, it helps us out as coaches, but also keeps the players in check, saying we're not that good. Because in all reality, we aren't that good yet. I think we're going to be really good, but we're not there yet. We got a lot of things to work on. I got to do a better job at some details just about our defense and offense. So, I'm working on that myself. But again, we're all in work in progress, and we're looking forward to getting better every day.
Yeah, and obviously me and Gene, we watch. We try to pay as close attention as we can, but of course we don't have that depth of knowledge and understanding of your team in the game as you do. So when you're seeing your team out there, like you said, there's plenty of things to be worked on. What's kind of the biggest thing you kind of want to see this team improve on throughout the rest of this regular season?
Taking care of the basketball, just making the right decisions. I think during the Washington game, that kind of came into sight. We had 16 turnovers in the first half, but then only 4 turnovers in the second half. And I think that first half really hurt us when it came down to it. So I think just cleaning up some things offensively, making the easy pass, the easy read, the fundamental things, hopping, catching on the hop, landing on the 2 feet. And then obviously I think our finishing around the rim can be a lot better. I need to do a better job of creating ways to mimic that in practice. So, we can get some more and ones, finishing of some easy bunnies. But obviously then, our defense is key. Every single year, our defense is what wins us games. We always say defense travels. So when we do go on the road and we're not having a good shooting night, we can rely on our defense. So we really pride ourselves on defense. We trying to get a little bit better at that, being a little bit quicker to our spots, getting there on the catch, just being ready at all times and not taking any plays off.
Yeah, and it's something I always kind of wanted to ask you too, just about your coaching style. I know when you guys go out there, play defense, you guys throw out a lot of looks in zones, presses. Just where does that kind of strategy come from for you from a coaching standpoint of throwing different things out there at offenses?
Yeah, I think every year is a little bit different. Like last year, we were straight man. We pressed and then we played man. We didn't really switch it up too often, but this year I think we have different personnel that we have to switch it up. So it kind of goes to the point of our personnel. But I was always a defensive minded guy when I was playing. And just watching Indiana when I was growing up. Bobby Knight was all man to man. Rugged, tough defenders. So I grew up watching that. I grew up playing that way, and I knew that defense will win you a lot of games and win you championships. So that's kind of why we do what we do, and we like to throw different looks out because I feel like if teams get into a rhythm, that can really hurt you because teams do figure defenses out, and if you get to throw them off just a little bit, maybe steal a possession or two, that could be a game. So that's what we try to do. We try to steal a couple of possessions here and there, maybe get 2 or 3 stops in a row, and that can expand a lead. So that's huge for us right now. But I think we've done a really good job this year of adapting. Because we were going to be a man-to-man team this year. Like that's what we were going to do. But we threw that away after the third game of the year. We threw that away. We're like, nope, that ain't going to happen this year. So we adapted, and the guys bought into it. And I think our zone looks are a little bit wacky and a little bit harder to figure out. And it was really hard to learn on the coaching staff part, but also the players part, because it's a little bit different of what you traditionally would do.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask to just more on the individual players. I know we talk a lot about Chad and Cam and Isaiah too, what he brings defensively, but I think looking at you guys' games, looking at the stat books and everything, unsung hero of this team also is Bo Harvey. Josiah Brown that can shoot from outside. I mean, what's it like having those guys, especially Bo and Josiah, adding on to what Cad, Cham, Isaiah bring to this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's Bo has been so good lately. I mean, he's the one who kind of gets us started in our offense. He makes the right decisions. He's averaging 7 or 8 assists a game. He just fills up the stat line. About to be 1,000-point scorer, which is incredible. I mean, anytime a guy reaches to that point in his career, it's pretty neat. But his leadership and just his, calm demeanor on the court seems to calm everybody else down. And then having Joe in that mix too, another ball handler, but scrappy defender, and can really shoot from the outside. It'll really spread out team's defense, so they can't just hone in on Cam. They gotta worry about Joe, and then you gotta worry about Hayes. Isaiah's shooting real well from the outside, and Bo can hit from all 3 levels. So I mean, I think we're a really hard team to defend because we have multiple threats, and I don't think a lot of people thought that we would be like that coming into this year, just because we did lose so many key guys last year. But coming into this year, we knew that we had all these guys coming back and that we could be pretty successful.
Yeah, and I mean, I also want to ask, with, of course, Drake going to UNC, was there kind of like a little bit of a different edge that the guys kind of came into this year with, knowing, kind of wanting to prove that, hey, we still we still have a good basketball team here at Northwood, regardless of who we lose or goes in and out?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We definitely have a big chip on our shoulder. I feel like we still do. They want to prove that we're not just 1 or 2 guys. I mean, you can't replace a Drake Powell. You can't replace Fred Whitaker or Jake Layton, any of those guys.
Right.
But it seems like every single year we have gotten just a little bit better, no matter who comes into the system. I mean, even after even Drake's freshman year, when we lost all 8 seniors in that Final Four team, we made to the state championship that next year. And not a lot of people thought we would make it that far. So it just goes to show you the resilience of these kids and the desire to be the best that they can be. And it's really showing with this group.
Yeah. And Gene, did you have any questions? Oh, I think we can't hear you, Gene. Gene, you might be muted. You might be muted. You might have to say that again.
Shouldn't be muted. There we go. All right. Now we should be unmuted. See, I was listening to you guys and I was muted. All right. Coach, you had mentioned you like to get the kids started early. What are you seeing good right now on the JV team? What's the upside of what you're seeing with the JVers?
We have a lot of good sophomores with Nevin, Asher, Caleb, also with Rajay and Grant Locklear. Those 5 guys, 5 sophomores, are going to be huge. And the Reese Adams, too, who's playing varsity right now, who's getting minutes. that young group is going to be really, really good. And then some of the freshmen too coming up, Tay and Liam and Owen, those guys. I think again, it's just the process of waiting your turn, getting better where you're at, and knowing your role. And the kids who stay and stick with it pays off every year. And the guys want to be here. The guys want to be, they want to get better. Again, that JV squad, they're going to be a tough sophomore group.
Let me ask you this. Last week, after the win over over Seaforth, Asheebo had asked you about how you're planning for the next game, which is tonight. Last night, UNC played Cal, and the interesting thing there is in the post-game interviews, all the players said that the coach showed them the last 8 minutes of their game against SMU, where they let a large lead evaporate. They still won that game, so they were emphasizing their own. But they also were up against a Cal player who, for the last 3 games, has averaged 30 points a game, and last night they held them to 6 points. So can you kind of give us an idea, again, as how you prepped your team for tonight's game, both from looking at your perspective and also looking at Chatham Central, because they're a 1A team, but they seem to play above their weight class, and they've got Albright, which is one of their best shooters, not only on the team but in the county.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Chatham Central is a great team, very well coached, a lot of good players. So we really last couple of days just concentrate on ourselves, especially last night. And then during walkthrough today, we'll concentrate on Chatham Central and the things that we need to get done, to the different looks that they might give us, but also, mainly defensively of what we need to do to make sure that their shooters don't get hot. So we're going to try our best to do that, but that it was all about us this past couple of days, because I feel like if we can't do the little things better, we're not going to win the game anyways. So we got to get better ourselves. And then, for walkthrough and shoot around today, we'll kind of talk about Chatham Central.
All right. I got another question. Sometimes when people come to the games, they're waiting for that first tip-off, and they're wondering who's going to win that tip-off. But we know what the answer to that question is. The other team is. Why do you do that, and when did you start the practice of doing that, where the other team, you just let them win the tip-off?
When I was in South Carolina, one of the legendary coaches in South Carolina, Tim Whipple, at Irmo, South Carolina, for Irmo High School, he's won like 8 state championships. He used to do that. And he got the idea of statistically, you'll have more possessions that way if a jump ball happens, or what a lot of times does happen for us is they get the tip, we get a turnover, and that's a stolen possession. So that's basically 2 possessions in our favor, because we're going to get the next jump ball, or we get it at the start of the quarter, or they take an ill-advised shot, a shot that they normally would not take. That's another possession for us. That's a stolen possession for us. We also feel like a lot of times people know that they're going to win the tip, so they'll spend 10 or 15 minutes just on the tip play. So that's 10 or 15 minutes that they are concentrating on us rather than themselves. So that kind of gives us an advantage as well.
All right. Well, now everybody knows the secret or the reasoning behind that. So did you start that when you first came to Northwood, that you've been doing this all along?
I did. Yep. When I first got to Northwood. So he actually, Coach Whipple showed me the press, and because every year he is our biggest rival. Every year we played him twice every year, and I could never figure out how to beat his press. I couldn't figure out how to beat his team. I never beat his team. He beat me every time. And when I got the job here at Northwood, I met with him for 3 or 4 hours, and he gave me everything. And I'm very, very grateful for that. He didn't hold anything back. He told me, you can do this. I'm not going to tell you it's going to work, but this is what I do. And this is what I believe. And, I kind of took what he taught me and applied it to here and kind of tweaked it here and there. But, that's where we get our press from. And that's where we get a lot of the things that we do from. So, I owe it a lot to Coach Whipple.
I think you already touched on it. Asheebo had asked about it. You've played in tournaments. How do you enjoy playing in the Phenom tournament, which was hosted at Northwood? And I think Phenom actually gave a lot of credit and a lot of exposure to your players. I noticed on social media that they did a really good job of highlighting your starters. So what was your takeaway from the Phenom tournament?
It was phenomenal. I mean, it was great. We were very blessed and fortunate to have that event here at Northwood. It was the first year they did a 919 thing like that. And I think next year we're going to do the same thing, hopefully. And I think it was good for the community. It was good for the school, but it was also good for our team and the boys to get that exposure. And that's what we try to do here. We try to get as much exposure to the kids, for the kids, as much as possible, to, ultimately to try to get them on that next level. That's a big deal for us. So it was a great event. I mean, they were fantastic. I've known the Mr. Lewis and Colby Lewis for a long time. Colby actually was a walk-on at UNC Charlotte when I was a grad assistant there. So I've known him for a pretty long time.
Yeah, I dropped them a note to see if they wouldn't mind joining Asheebo and I on one of these Thursday afternoon live streams. We got to get more into some of the other things, but you brought up you were a Bobby Knight fan watching Indiana play. What are some of your best memories for you as a player?
For me as a player? Oh, man.
For you as a player.
Playing on a Saturday nights in a packed gym. I mean, there's nothing like it, especially in Indiana. Sold out gym, 2,000 people every night. You got the pep band going. It's on a different level there. Here in North Carolina, it's pretty good. We have some pretty good crowds, but on a Saturday night in Indiana, those gyms, man, there's nothing like it.
All right. I think at this point, we're ready to talk a little bit about Drake. You mentioned defense. I think one of the things that came up yesterday, I had an opportunity to talk to Wes Durham, and he just overall said that Drake seems to be a complete player. He said he does need to bulk up a little bit, but that he's really strong on defense. So, again, I think you've been to a couple of the UNC games. What's your impression of how Drake's gone from playing at Northwood over to UNC?
I think the transition's been great. I think he's starting to figure things out finally. And he's progressively gotten a little bit better, both offensively and defensively. I knew he would be great defensively, but offensively, he's becoming more confident, a little bit more assertive. SMU game, he shot a good amount of shots, and he's consistently making his threes now and being a little bit more aggressive on his drive. So I mean, I think he's doing a great job, and I think the coaching staff has done a phenomenal job with that group, and with their lineups and the things that they're doing right now. They're figuring things out. They're adapting, and they got them on a roll, and they look good last night too. They're really playing as a team, and I thought Drake played really well. I mean, he's doing his role. He's doing what he's asked to do, and I think he's impacting the game both offensively and defensively, especially when he is hitting. Teams are going to have to not sag off, so they're going to have, and that opens up the floor for RJ and Elliott, and even Ian slashing. So I mean, he's done a very, very good job so far, and I'm looking forward to his the next couple of weeks. And he's only going to get better.
Yeah, he had 17 points in that SMU game. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was his highest scoring game, and I think right now he's averaging about 7.5 games. Plus, he's also playing 23 minutes a game as a freshman.
Yeah.
Asheebo, you got any questions about Drake and the coach? Or he's got me on silent.
No, I'm sorry. I
All
think
right.
my connection may be going. You hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now, Gene? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I did have a question about next year, just might have gone off. But Coach, I also wanted to ask, I mean, do you still have contact with Drake and, you know, talk to him on a regular basis? And if so, I mean, what's kind of the things you guys kind of share back and forth with him still being up the road at UNC?
Yeah, I mean, I text him. I try to text him before every game, or you know, after every game. You know, just congratulating him. You know, or you know, keep your head up. At the end of the Notre Dame game, my little girl Sadie, she saw it was snowing in South Bend, and she's like, "You need to ask Drake if you build a snowman." So I text Drake, you know, did you build a snowman with a little frozen emoji of Anna knocking on the door? You want to build a snowman? And he thought that was great. He laughed and he's like, no, I was thinking about it though. So, I mean, you know, I try to keep it light. You know, I try not to get too much in basketball in debt. You know, I just talk about his school, you know, how's school going, how's grades, and, you know, girlfriend, no girlfriend, you know, stuff like that. And just saying hi. But it's always good to hear from him, and I try to keep in touch. Try to keep in touch with all the guys. You know, Max is at Central Connecticut right now. He's doing phenomenal, and Keenan's at Harvard, and Aaron's at Chuan, and Jalen's at Southwest. I mean, there's Colby's in Massachusetts playing. So I mean, there's a lot of guys who are still playing and not playing that I try to kind of keep up with and say hi every you know 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, that brings me to the question of why do you coach?
The relationships with the kids, just seeing them grow. I mean, to see the kids grow up and you know do whatever they would dream of. I mean, you got these kids going to Division I schools that always dreamt to playing college basketball, or you got guys who are now starting to work. And I mean, Tommy, he's engaged. He was on. I mean, which is crazy to me. So Tommy's engaged. You know, Sebastian gave his life to Christ. You know, you just all these life changing things that they share with you. It's incredible. Like at that moment, like you don't get it, but once they graduate and gone and they come back to you and tell you all these good things, it's like, man, this is the reason why I love coaching. But also, you know, I love basketball. I always have. I don't feel like I can do anything else. And I don't know if I want to do anything else, but um, I've always enjoyed the game, and definitely just like to seeing kids getting better and enjoying the process of figuring out what we can and can't do, and figuring out ways to get better. I like to problem solve a lot.
Asheebo, got any questions, or I will go into a question. I ran into Pat Welter, who did the documentary on Drake. He called Drake the Prince of Pittsburgh, and I told Pat no one calls Drake the Prince of Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. What was your take on the documentary? How do you feel it was handled? The treatment? What kind of feedback did you get? What kind of feelings did you have? Do you think it was a fair representation of not just Drake, but you played a fairly vital role in that documentary. It wasn't just all about Drake. There was talk about you and your relationship with Drake and the process of not only Drake growing over the 4 years that he was on the team, but your growth process over that time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very well done. I thought Pat did an awesome job with it. Took a lot of time. I mean, he took a lot of time on that thing. He took a lot of pride in it, and I think it showed. The process, it you didn't even know he was there half the time. You know, he'd text me and say, "Hey, I'm going to come by and mic you up for this game, or, I want to do an interview real quick. And it was a great experience. I thought that we were very fortunate to have been able to do something like that, because not a lot of people get to do that, and to be noticed. I think having Drake was a blessing in itself, but to have people know and get to know who he is as a person, I think that's important, because he's just not just a basketball player; he's more than that. And I think people really got to see that side of Drake.
Yeah, I just took a look at YouTube. If you type in Prince of Pittsburgh, it pops up, and that documentary's been viewed 31,000 times just on YouTube, and they did play a shorter version of it on television, so I'm sure it's in the tens of thousands of views. That's my last question. Asheebo, do you want to wrap it up with the coach? I know we're kind of running over with the coach. I thought we'll have him for 30 minutes, but we've had him for almost 40 minutes, which I appreciate. I've learned a lot in this process. Asheebo, you got anything else for the coach before we let him go?
Yeah, just to wrap it up. I mean, me and you would talk throughout the season about the goals of this team, right? You guys definitely setting the bar high this season, like you guys always are. I mean, if you want to just tell everybody, I mean, what's the biggest goal you want to finish this 2024-25 season with?
I mean, I'd be lying not to say state championship. I mean, that's always the goal. That's a goal here at Northwood is to win one, and to be the best versions of ourselves. A little coach talk there, but I mean, like we have a saying this year is adding to the legacy. There's a good legacy here at Northwood, and we challenge the guys, especially the seniors, on what do they want to add to this, and not to be just okay with what has already been given to them and what has already happened. Like, how can we add on to it? I think they're doing a very good job of doing that. If that's keeping the locker room clean, like they've done an incredible job of keeping the locker room clean. So they're adding that to the legacy. Just a little details things, but I mean, we want to win a conference championship. We want a tournament conference championship. We want to get a good seed. So we don't have to go on the road in the playoffs, because we know how hard that is in the playoffs to go on the road in the third or fourth round. So we're trying to do our best to not do that and have the opportunity to play at home. But ultimately, yeah, we're trying to win it all. And I feel like we have a good enough team to do that, but we had to tighten some things up. And obviously we got to get some lucky bounces here and there. Like anybody in the playoffs, it's win or go home. And but right now we're really, really worried about Chatham Central, because they got a really good ball team over there, and two really good shooters, and athletic, bouncy, big now. And so we got to figure out how to stop those three guys. And but we'll do our best.
Yep. Well, that's pretty much all I have for you, Coach. I think Gene's all good. So thank you for joining us this Thursday. Like I said, we always like to have our coaches on here and have a great conversation with them. And also, we'll see you tonight against Chatham Central. Best of luck to you tonight and the rest of the season. And yeah, look forward to finishing out this basketball season with you.
Thank you, guys. Coach. I think you guys do a fantastic job of covering Chatham sports, of exposing all the student athletes here in Chatham County. I think you guys do one of the best jobs around here in the state, and I appreciate you guys and all your hard work of doing all that you do. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you spending 40 minutes with us, because I think a lot of people, by watching this, have learned a lot more about Northwood and yourself, and a little bit about where Drake came from, because there's a lot of folks talking about Drake, but they don't realize that your involvement in Northwood's involvement and the community's involvement in it. So we do appreciate you spending time, and Asheebo and I will be there tonight covering the game. So we'll see you there, and I will let you go right now. And Asheebo, let me let the coach go, and here we go. All right. You want to do power rankings, or do you want to talk about the basketball? I mean, you mentioned earlier before we started that there was a lot of snow last week, and some things got pushed out to this week. So, do you want to get into power rankings, or do you want to just do a roundup of the games?
We can do a roundup. I'm going to do a roundup of the games we had this week.
Sounds good.
The Chatham school, our charter schools actually did play this week. So we had Woods Charter boys basketball on the 14th. They got the win over Triangle Math and Science, 59-35, and that one Bhuvanesh Senthil, he had 20 points, 15 rebounds, a double for him in that game. And then the Chatham Charter boys, they lost to a really good Southern Wake Academy team, 65-37 on Tuesday as well. And then just in the girls, Chatham Charter, they beat Southern Wake Academy 55-8, dominated Southern Wake in that game on Tuesday. And then the girls for Woods fell to Triangle Math and Science 32-18 on Tuesday as well. So that's just what we had this week. Of course, like Gene said, tonight you have the two big games in the county between Chatham Central at Northwood, and then Jordan Matthews will be at Seaford for boys and girls quads tonight. Of course, these were supposed to be played this past Friday, but of course the snow had to get those moved to this week. So start with the boys power rankings week of January 6th. Now this is from the results from last week, last Monday up until through Friday. At 6, I have Jordan Matthews. 5, Chatham Charter. 4, Woods Charter. 3, Seaford. 2, Chatham Central. And of course, at number 1, I have Northwood rounding out our boys power rankings for the week. Not too much movement from the past couple of weeks, but we do have a big matchup that could shake some things up coming up on Monday, January 27th. Woods Charter will be facing Chatham Charter for the second time this season. Woods Charter beat Chatham Charter in the last second shot earlier this year, so we'll see how that one shakes out in a couple of weeks, and that could change some things in the power rankings. But that's where we are right now. Gene, what do you think of our boys' power rankings for this week?
I think your power rankings got reinforced this past week. I mean, the way Seaforth went up against Chatham Central a bunch of weeks ago, and then the way Northwood has played against Seaforth, they came out pretty strong. Even though they played, and we talked about this last week, even though they played on the Seaforth home court, they came out strong. So as you said, today we got 1 and going up against 2. So we're going to see what happens. I think, again, playing in Northwood will have the advantage, but Chatham Central, they're going to fight till the end. I think, folks, if you don't have anything to do tonight, I know it's cold, put on a jacket and come out to see the game. It's 2 of the best schools basketball-wise that are going to be playing against each other, and it's definitely worth coming out. So definitely agree with Asheebo's power rankings. If you don't, you're more than welcome to comment in the bottom of the Facebook or in the comments section. All right. Do you want to get into the girls' power ranking?
Yeah, the girls' power rankings. Once again, week of January 6th, I got at 6, Jordan Matthews. At 5, Woods Charter. At 4, Chatham Charter. Coming in at number 3, I have Chatham Central. And then at 2, Northwood. And then, of course, at number 1, we have Seaforth. Like I said, not too different for the past couple of weeks. We're getting into the point of the season where teams kind of are who they are and are going to be where they are at. But like we said, Seaforth and Northwood had a chance to play last week. Seaforth got the edge over Northwood and stays at number 1. And Northwood and Chatham Central tonight, we'll get that matchup, which could shake some things up. Chatham Central is a team like past couple of years, undersized, but Coach Adrian Albright likes to play fast. She also emphasizes rebounding, especially with Carolee Dotson down low, who's been really good on the boards this year. I think they could really compete with Northwood as well tonight, especially if they could get into their style of basketball and also produce a lot of turnovers, which they've been pretty good at this year as well. So that'll be pretty interesting to see that matchup before the boys game. But yeah, that's our girls' power rankings. Gene, what you think of the girls' list?
Again, definitely agree with you. Just like the boys' side, we saw a couple things get reinforced last week. Again, if there's going to be a shakeup, it's going to be that Chatham Central versus Northwood game tonight. As you mentioned, Coach Albright, she does not like to lose. So the girls are going to put in as much effort as the boys from the Chatham Central side. Also, reminder, it's a quad night at Northwood tonight. It's the JV teams early on. I think the girls varsity game is supposed to start at 6, and the boys varsity game is supposed to start at 7:30. I'm probably going to be there starting with the girls varsity game. I don't know if I'll be able to make any of the JV games. Asheebo will be there as well. So we're going to cover that, and also over at C4th, JM will be playing at C4th. And if you follow Asheebo on Asheebo R38 on X, he will update you on stuff because he also keeps track of what's going around. He's multitasking all over the place, even though he's at one location. All right. Do we want to go into that? Covers the power rankings. Again, if you agree or disagree, let us know. If you don't want to let us know, that's fine as well. Do we want to get into what's in the newspaper today that comes out every Thursday, the Chatham News and Record? And then after we go through that, she was going to give you who the athlete of the week is this week.
Yeah, so this week we have our usual roundup, of course, with the winter sports, boys and girls basketball, a little bit of wrestling action as well. And then we have, of course, our game stories from last week's Battle for Pittsburghs between the boys and girls teams from C4th and Northwood. And then we have a wrestling story, Chatham Central Senior Night. They hosted Northwood and Northmore in the tri-meet. So we had some results from the boys and girls matchups there. Northwood came away with 2 wins. They did beat Chatham Central and Northwood, both on the boys' side. So they were the kind of the victors of the meet. And then, of course, this weekend, for more wrestling information, Jordan Matthews is hosting their first ever Jordan Matthews Invitational Saturday morning. And then next week, the weekend after that next Saturday will be the Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A conference tournament. And we'll have more details on the location and times for that in the coming in the next week. So, yeah, we have a little bit of more wrestling action. And, of course, tomorrow when it's going to hit online, but it's already in the paper now, we have a story, another monthly story just updating you guys on the county athletes that are in college playing basketball or swimming now. Just some updates on the guys and girls that have been doing well. Some of the updates on where they're going, not why, but maybe why they haven't been playing. Some are injured, some are playing and getting some time, and just a quick update for some of the players on what they've been doing in college as of recently. So, yeah, that's what we have in the paper this week. And now, Gene, you said you're ready to go into Athlete of the Week.
Yeah, we're going to do Athlete of the Week. And I just want to let folks know, I want to let Asheebo know, so some folks are like, hey, you talk a lot about Drake. But the thing is, pick up the paper, because one of the things, and I've gotten heard feedback on that, folks appreciate knowing what our high school athletes are doing in college. So, and Asheebo's out there tracking that down for you folks. So pick up a copy of the paper and see who's doing what out there. And yes, we're ready for this week's Athlete of the Week.
Yeah, so this week's Athlete of the Week is no one other than Cam Fowler from the Northwood boys basketball team. We just had his coach on the stream, and we're talking about him. We're going to talk about him some more, like I said. So he's the Athlete of the Week for this week. And against Cummings, January 7th, he put up a team-high 20.6 rebounds, 5 assists, grabbed the team-high 5 steals as well. Just another one of those all-around performances that we've seen from him. And then against C4th, of course, a lot of you guys were at that game. He had 6 rebounds and 2 assists to go along with his 17 points. So doing a lot of things for Northwood this season. Like we said, he's really stepped into that first option role for Northwood as a scorer, been a really good defender and also a pretty good rebounder as well, even though Coach Brown would like to see him rebound some more. So, yeah, congrats to Cam Fowler. Just great athlete overall. If you guys remember, I think he did earn Athlete of the Week over the football season as well, too. So he's continuing that excellence on the basketball court this winter, and we're looking forward to see what he does tonight against a very good Chatham Central team.
You know his mom's going to come over and hug you for making her son Athlete of the Week. You know that. All right. Anything else to what's going on? Well, you touched on wrestling, and do we have anything on swimming and track, or is that also weather that kind of affected that?
Yeah, we had a track meet. I think that was supposed to be for last Friday. That got moved or canceled, as what it says on Mile Split, because of the weather. So I'm not sure if they're going to make that one up. I think the Mid Carolina 1A2A indoor track meet is coming up in a couple of weeks. I think on February 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So we're getting to about the end of the regular seasons for a lot of our winter sports here in a couple of weeks, and we'll start talking about the postseason too. But yeah, I think we're all good as far as sports this week because, like I said, some things got moved and canceled. So we'll get back with some more indoor track and swimming action, I'm sure, in the coming weeks.
All right, folks. So with that, make sure in the paper, I'll also give you a rundown of what's going on. Probably a little bit more in depth. Again, you'll be able to read about it in the paper, but also talking about tonight's Chatham Central versus Northwood game. Asheebo and I will both be at those games this evening, so hope to see you out there. Anything else before we say bye, Asheebo?
Nope, I think we got it all covered today.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed Coach Brown joining us. If there's other coaches that want to join us, we're welcoming. We'd love to have you on there and get into depth as to what's going on with your team.